Okay, hey everyone. So you guys, this video was so divisive, I think is the word. Y'all were just on all sides of the argument here. This is the most harmless video in the whole series. It was me just showing an expert who was reacting to TikTok in a realistic way, but you guys, some of you didn't like her, some of you did. Some of you were against what she was saying, some of you were for it, some of you were against the woman she was reacting to, some of you were in support. It was just all over the place. So I just find it so funny that the video that I thought would be the least engaging got the most debate. But let's go through these comments. Oh, and by the way, I'm on my art channel account right now, so just keep that in mind. But you said, yeah, this was truly a very good part into the series, showing why TikTok shouldn't be as a cesspool and why people shouldn't take it at face value with biases from other people whom have either no prior experience or overly judge the media platform. And yet, people literally think it's a cesspool. And the thing that I haven't even mentioned yet is that TikTok isn't even a mental health platform. We're discussing mental health because that's all people talk about with TikTok. But TikTok has so much stuff on it. Most of the TikToks I get are creative TikToks. They're, obviously dances because it's a dance app. It's art stuff, people creating things, jokes. There's comedians on TikTok. There's, just references to shows. People break down stuff from media. And there's news on there. There's all sorts of stuff on TikTok. It's literally YouTube, but more content. I don't know how to explain it. And then there's live streamers on there. There's travel people who show you how to travel. There's people who give business tips on TikTok. There's lawyers on TikTok. There's literally everything you can think of on there. It's as dumb as when people say that YouTube is just cat videos. They're oh, it's just mental health cringe. Yeah, okay. Because that's why half the country is using it, right? Because it's mental health cringe. I can't. You said that you didn't really have much else to say. You said you loved the video, loved the chat, can't wait for more. I can only hope for you the best of everything and that more people will be attracted and attentive to your content because once again, it is honest, open, and talking about subjects practically nobody or practically a few people else talk about, with even fewer having lots of views with nuanced take. And I really appreciate that. I'm trying my best here. We'll see how everyone feels by the end of the series, if it was in total a good series or not. We shall see. All right, let's get into this debate now. So you said, I never felt like my feelings matter as a kid. And even as an adult, my parents make me realize so much hearing this. I'm validated now. And you're talking about the therapist saying you can't just invalidate your kids' feelings and then be surprised when they have to go to therapy. And she was putting it nicely, saying invalidate their feelings. We talk about straight up abuse. They do more than just invalidate. They just lash out on their kids. You said, I agree with the therapist about the first TikTok. Self-help authors obviously have to market their books somehow, but I think there's something uniquely scummy about targeting people who may be in an abusive relationship and telling them, yeah, you are the problem now, buy my book. And see, it's I didn't register it that way. To me, she was more so possibly saying, oh, well, if they're going to say you're the problem and if you're going to be in the relationship anyway, then make them speechless. Because that's what she did. I'm going to better myself. I'm going to take your criticism in stride. So it's I kind of did the same thing with the Cyberstalker series. I won't go into detail about it, but all the quote unquote criticism that I got from people, the audience, the Cyberstalkers, Curtis, from everybody, I kind of took it in stride. And I have made some changes that people probably don't notice. I don't know, but I've taken it in stride. So maybe I'll talk about it some other day. But even though there was a lot of things that they said where I didn't agree with their criticism, I still took it in stride. And I was you're not coming from a good place, but I'll work on it anyway. So that's kind of how I interpreted it. But it's all up to the interpretation. That's why I'm I got to read the book to have an opinion on it, Because a pitch is a pitch. You said, also, as someone who was misdiagnosed twice by a therapist and psychiatrist, I will say go to therapy isn't great advice. I got reported by a professor to mental health professionals on campus because of my issues with time management. Do awesome sometimes, but shut down and disappear other times. When I was told to go to therapy, I went to one of the campus and I think I said something about my mind racing. And she looked disturbed as if she could refer me to the campus psychiatrist. They both diagnosed me with bipolar 2. Then after I graduated and took medication that didn't work for years, I was told that I was misdiagnosed because I had none of the symptoms, but all the symptoms of untreated ADHD combination type. I was officially diagnosed and now I'm good. But had I tried to self-diagnose ahead of time, I could have been clearer in describing my symptoms to the therapist I was forced to see and not misdiagnosed twice. I could have also found the ADHD friendly resources out there that would have made my life easier. Anyway, great discussion as always, Kurena. See, the thing is, like, I've also been in a similar situation just recently where luckily it didn't go that far and they didn't put me on medication, but I was talking to my doctor and I was talking to her about my health because, as you guys know, I fucked up my health badly and my heart is still racing from everything that happened in the Cyberstalker series. Like, it's almost better, but it's still racing. So when it was worse than it is now, I was talking to my doctor about it and she just kept saying, like, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it. And it invalidated me so much because you're suggesting that the way I was behaving was not normal. And says a lot about your assessment, especially something that you yourself don't have any knowledge of. But I was talking to my therapist and she just looked in shock the whole time. She's like, what? Because she knows and I know that I have anxiety. And she's like, you just sounded like you were having an anxiety episode. And I'm like, I know. But they'll just throw these things on you, even when they have no clue what they're talking about, and then give you pills for it. It can really fuck you up too, depending on what the pills are and how it affects you. And sometimes it's irreversible, the effects, especially when they do this to kids, because it permanently changes your brain chemistry. That's a whole nother story for another day, but I just wanted to tell you that I understand where you're coming from. And even just recently, something like that almost happened to me, but then thank God it didn't. Holy shit. But yeah, that got ruled out really fast. You said, I wish I watched this live now because I'm probably going to post a zillion comments. I love what you said about the meaning of life is to adapt. That hits so hard. 10 out of 10 peak Kurena. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. I don't know if you've seen the Are You Happy Yet video. This is it. But you should go watch it because that's the one where I go in depth about my perspective on the meaning of life. He said people who subscribe to the tough love approach to getting others to lose weight because it worked for them are dealing with massive survivorship bias. And okay, so that's like perfectly worded because survivorship bias is like a selection bias. Let me actually go get the definition real quick. Survivorship bias is the logical error of concentrating on entities that passed a selection process while overlooking those that did not. This can lead to incorrect conclusions because of incomplete data. That is like, So y'all don't know this, but I'm working on a video. I mentioned a very long time ago in these two videos that I was going to do a video on the most toxic health advocate on YouTube, and I'm still going to try to do that video eventually, and I'm definitely going to use this word in that video, so thank you for posting that because I forgot all about it. So he said, I was about to be infuriated until I realized these people are trying to entertain with their fake knowledge. So I don't know who you're going to be infuriated at, if it's the woman or the therapist. I'm assuming the therapist. I don't know who it is. Never mind. YouTube needs a live reaction feature because none of these type of people would have the nerve to say the stuff they do if a live audience could fact check them in real time. Honestly, that's so true. Like, they literally say this shit because they're talking to a screen. And that's why they're able to pick on these people so easily, because they get to take their reaction out of context when they respond. Like, I'm gonna read out a comment at some point, but when you guys were talking about how the fake disorder cringe people stalk these victims, and then when the victims react and they're like, you're hurting me, they take it out of context and make them look clownish. Like, they literally are doing that on a massive scale to these victims on TikTok. And so they'll be like crying or, freaking out, and then they'll just make them look even more clownish, and they can't defend themselves, and these are kids. So if it was live, they wouldn't be able to do that. They would just look like a fucking abusive bully, but they get away with it because of the magic of editing and all that shit and how dumb their audience is. It's a shame. You said, I saw your video the other day, but don't remember if I commented. There was an error. Everybody had a problem commenting the other day, and it was frustrating because comments are so important, but people weren't able to comment. So thank you for coming back. It means a lot. I'm not into people who make their name off of criticizing others. That's what people accuse me of doing all the time. So I just find it funny that you're saying that to me, because people are always just like, you just attack people. You're just trying to get a name of fame off of attacking people. They didn't know me at all. That's a whole other story for another day. But they didn't understand that it wasn't I never wanted to be famous. Like, I was severely handicapping myself because I didn't want to be famous. I didn't want to go viral and get 1 million views. So I did everything I could to have discussions without that happening. And I was successful in that, but I didn't want to go viral or get a ton of views because I was already getting attacked so much. In my head, I was just like, oh God, if I ever get like 100K subs, I'll be attacked by like 10 million people. Like, that's where my head was. So I never wanted that. Anyway, but people always accuse me of what you're saying here, so I find it funny that you're saying this. You said I could totally attack the tacky cheap post note slash, but oh yeah, you are talking about the therapist. Yep. I could totally attack the tacky cheap post note slash postcard backdrop. I don't understand what the hell was on her backdrop. It didn't make no sense, like the bird. It says something like have a bird or something. I forget. I read them all, but I didn't understand like 90% of them. And you said you could attack it and say she's a hack just by YouTube commentator studio standards alone as criteria not to believe her. So I guess that what you're saying, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I'm still a bit confused, but I'm assuming that you're saying that she is trying to make a name off of attacking people. And I don't know if that's really the case because, again, she was pretty happy throughout the video. I think she just really had an issue with that one person. But that's why I was like, have you read the book? Like, why are you so mad? You said she drives you up the wall and you mentioned all of her books. So have you read the books or is this your first time seeing her? Have you seen more TikToks of her? There was just no context. So that's why I can't really get all that mad because I have no context and I can't judge her for it because, again, no context. So I hear what you're saying, but I just don't really have much of an issue either way with what she said or what the woman said because I don't know what the hell's going on. You said the entitled agenda online, I can't. Everyone in relationships have a standard and expectations, and if not being met, they are not happy. Yeah, that's the case in a lot of relationships. They want you to change to what they want things to be. And it's okay to want someone to change because we all have things to work on. But a lot of people in relationships are selfish. They don't want to change, but they want you to change. You said I had an ex. They wanted me to change and said I didn't love them if I didn't wear certain clothing and act a certain way. Yeah, like, I'm sorry to hear that that happened to you and that sucks. And it's a good thing that that's your ex and you're not still with them anymore. It's like, it's okay to make suggestions because some people don't know how to dress themselves or don't know how to look. So if you want to help that person, that makes sense. But then there's other cases where people are just like literally trying to make you into some fantasy that they have as if you're not a human being, and it's a whole thing, so it sucks. In relation to the beginning of your video, I've had 2 different therapists before, but they had different specialties. I would hate if my grief counselor was trying to counsel me on my relationship to food. They have different specialties for a reason. It's like I agree with you on that, but at the same time, what if it was good advice? Like, what if they said something and you liked it? You don't know because you haven't heard it. You get my point? And then on top of that, what I was referring to is asking for advice. I should have specified, but it frustrates me that if I ask them for advice, they then will tell me I'm not allowed to give it. But I just asked you for it. Why can't I sign a paper saying, I understand that this advice you give me doesn't have control over my life. I make my own decisions, blah, blah, blah. And then you give me the advice that I'm asking you for. That I think is fucked up. So now you understand what I meant when I said humans are allowed to give advice, because before psychology existed, you just had people recognizing behavioral patterns and giving advice. So yeah, let me sign a paper so I can ask this fucking person for their advice because I'm a competent human being who knows that just because they give me advice, I don't have to take it. But in your circumstance, I understand where you're coming from, but I also wouldn't want to hear advice from a specialist if it was bad advice. So that's why I'm kind of like, I get where you're coming from, but I don't exactly agree. And I was also like telling you that it's hard to find specialists who can help you. It's also hard to find a specialist for every single area that you would need help with in your life. So moving on. Everyone wants to be special with titles and therapists. Doctors are not allowed to give advice, but their medical opinions. So to say no one can give advice is stupid because doctors can't, not legally anyway. I'm a little bit confused on the wording here. I don't know if you're saying that, like, if this is a slight towards the therapist in the video, because a few people took a jab at her. I don't know. But as for the whole doctor thing, even though I did have my doctor give me terrible, she literally gave me a diagnosis with no information. The thing that they're accusing people of doing on TikTok, my doctor literally did that to me. Because they literally don't know anything about cyberstalking. This is an older woman. She doesn't know anything about that. She's not on YouTube making videos. She's not on TikTok posting content. So when I was explaining the situation to her, it's just going right over her head. So yeah, I don't know exactly what you're saying, but that's my response. People think their titles make them the Bible truth or something. No one knows everything, especially enough through a screen to diagnose. I'm assuming you're saying that to the therapist, but I don't remember her diagnosing someone. Like, I'm thinking, I could be wrong, but I don't remember her doing that. I remember her telling people to go see a professional. And I'm not saying that you're saying this to the therapist. I just don't know what you're saying this in reference to. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you on what you're saying. I just don't know what you're applying it to, and depending on what you're applying it to, I might disagree. But yeah, I wanted to comment yesterday, but every time I did, it said failed message. I'm telling everybody, like, nobody was able to comment. I was sitting there, I was like, I only got 3 comments. What? Like, I was so confused. And I was like, I guess nobody gave a shit. Okay. Like, but then all of a sudden I got like 200 likes and I was like, what? I really didn't get it. Because my comments weren't being censored. So, yeah, but everybody was doing some sort of bug on YouTube, unfortunately. You said, anyhow, I think people need to understand that everyone has an opinion about seem to speak as if it is factual because people are listening or lots of people listen, so it must be true. Yeah, which is what happened in Teaching Trends. People thought, oh my God, this 1 million+ sub channel says all this stuff. It must be true. Like, what? You said medical professionals are not supposed to give opinions. Only medical advice, not personal. So when we see all these people talking and internet doctors stating they know something online without saying it's my personal opinion or I haven't seen this patient, but based on what I know, I would possibly recommend this or that. Oh, okay. I'm starting to understand. I have to keep reminding myself that the lady in the video was reading a comment of a woman's circumstance, and the lady was then using that to promote her book, and then the therapist got mad at it and started to assess the commenter's situation. I think that's what you're referring to, and I understand that. However, I do think that it sucks that all that has to be a thing in the first place, and I am going to do a video about that, but it sucks that you're not allowed to give your opinion. You have to, it just has to be medical advice. It's ridiculous. You're a human being. Human beings should be allowed to give their opinion. But I definitely now understand where some of the tension's coming from in these comments towards the therapist. I'm surprised she's even allowed to talk like that. And this is why I got a comment under like part 1 or something where somebody was just like, what? People lose their licenses? Since when? And it's just like, yeah, they do, but they see people like this therapist not losing her license, so they think it never happens. He said people using the fact that they are therapists and doctors as being right in their opinion is stupid because they are giving an opinion as a person just like you and I can. I know. I feel like there's a time and a place to mention your credentials because it can be important for you to tell people I've personally experienced this in this field, right? Or like you saw me in this series, or you're gonna see me do it, but I'm just like, I have Tourette's and I literally do the things that you're talking about. So it's important for me to tell everyone that I have Tourette's or else I can't say I do that and it makes sense, you know? So I think that there is a time and a place to mention your own experience, but there's so many people out there like what you're saying where they feel like every single time they have to say something, they gotta bring up their own shit because that somehow validates their opinion, and it doesn't. The only time they can give medical opinion is when they are actually treating a patient. Doctors can say how to... See, that's what bothers me, though. So you can only give your opinion if it's a medical opinion, but you can only give a medical opinion when it's a patient. So you're just not allowed to be a person. You can't go online and just give your opinion because you're a medical professional. Like, it's bullshit. He said doctors can say how TikTok affects patients or what they see, but stating because you are a therapist and you know what things are that you did not treat is ridiculous. Our relationships are different, and without context, it's a moot point, but people judge it anyway. I forgot all I typed yesterday, but always great points, Kurena. Thank you so much for your comment, and thank you for commenting again despite the glitch that happened. As a specialist, I wanted to say, many people talk about how TikTok helps them, but also what helps them can be used for bad. So this is the kind of comment where some of you guys are talking about the whole bringing up you being a specialist is a moot point, because this is just your opinion. It doesn't matter if you're a specialist or not, what you're saying here specifically. But I understand what you mean when you say it can be used for bad, but that's everything. Everything can be used for bad. The point that I'm making throughout the series and I'll continue to make is that TikTok is not as bad as people are saying it is. They're saying it's cringe city, it's cringe central, the cringe zone. And it's not. There's so much stuff on TikTok, but even if we just cover the area that you guys are talking about, which is mental health, It is mostly good. And then there's a few bad things that you guys on YouTube decided to make compilations of and turn into this big thing that it wasn't. If you actually go on the app, you're not going to see that much of what people are compiling on YouTube. They are stalking these people and making these compilations to make it seem one way when it's not. So TikTok is mostly used for good, but people are saying it's for bad. And you can say that about any social media platform. But the proof is in the pudding. Half of the US is using TikTok for a reason. And it's not because it's cringe central. He said the chick is rolling her eyes because she believes she's clapping and being spicy. That's just funny. Because she was like, oh, her stupid fucking books. I was like, why are you so mad about the book, though? Like, I was just trying to understand. I didn't understand where she was coming from. But yeah, I guess she was. You said, and she's not. See, this is what I mean. I'm saying half of y'all liked her and half of y'all was like, girl, bye. And the other half was like, ugh. Like, I don't like her. Like, I'm just sitting here like, damn, this is divisive as fuck. I don't get it. You said YouTube had an odd thing, or I couldn't say, but yeah, that was the glitch that you're referencing. It happened to everybody. You said, I couldn't say, but really like the mental health topics and I need to catch up. We'll start at number 1. Thank you again. Like, I keep seeing these comments and it just makes me feel like it was all worth it. Cause y'all don't understand why I'm saying this. Like, I literally sat down for like 8 to 10 hours straight and reacted to all that shit in one go. So when you see my reaction from part 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and so on, I'm literally watching those videos back to back and just exhausted as fuck. Like, I'm just like, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. Here we go again. And then I have to go on with edits and inserts. There's so many hours that's been put into this series. So to know that you guys are actually going back to start at part 1 when you come into the series, it means so much because those videos are still getting views. The word is still getting out there, and I just really appreciate you for that. So yes, please watch the whole series because each video is different and covers different things. You said almost forgot hashtag watch time viewers. Thank you. If you don't know what to comment under my videos, but you want to leave a comment to support, just type hashtag watch time viewers and it helps me out a lot. If you want to support the hashtag, I'm going to make a separate video about this eventually, but if you want to support the hashtag, you got to spread it across social media. You can't just post it under my video. So just share it on Twitter and type hashtag watch time viewers. Put it in the description of one of your videos on YouTube or in the title of one of your videos if you have a channel. You got to spread it out. If it's just under my channel, it's not going to spread far. You know, share it on Tumblr, share it everywhere you can. So if you see like any case of cyber stalking on another YouTube video or some sort of harassment or bullying, you can bring up the hashtag in your comment and explain what it means. So that was like all the comments under the video because unfortunately the glitch really like stunted people from being able to comment. But there was some commentary in the live that I wanted to read out. So you were asking me, where/when did you find this particular video? Was it in your feed or something? So you're talking about the therapist video, I believe, and you said, because never heard of this one before. So I already told you guys I reacted to literally like a bunch of videos in a row. All I did was like search reacting to mental health TikTok or something like 5 months ago, 4 months ago, something like that, right before the Cyberstalker series, and then I just watched like 8 videos back to back. That's why they're all so highly viewed, because they were some of the top search results. But the whole reason why I did it was the same thing I was proving in the Cyberstalker series, and it's the same thing that I keep proving in all these type of videos, which is I can watch a video with no context and there's a 90% chance that they're just going to be repeating the same thing that everyone else is saying, because people make these videos to hop on a trend and get views. They do it for clout. They don't do it because they care about it. So I already know what's going to be in the video most likely because it's the same thing. But she was an expert. So I watched hers and I was like, oh, she's a therapist. This might actually be a different one. And that's why my reaction to her is so different. But when it's just a YouTuber who's playing armchair psychologist and armchair detective while accusing other people of doing the same, they react the exact same way every time. It's ridiculous. The only other person you're going to see who reacts differently is the psychologist, I think he is. The Psychology in Seattle guy, because he's an expert, not some basic ass YouTuber. He said, Kurena, I think this startup might be the best one of all the experiments you have done. And from talking to you, I'm pretty sure you were talking about the cinematic intro. That is like my favorite Premiere intro. So just a little fun fact for you guys. Whenever you see the cinematic intro, that means the shit's about to get real. You know, like that's like, now we're getting into a really serious video, or like an intense video, or like a video from a main part of a series. You'll see that one. If it's like Kurena's reply and it's not a serious Kurena's reply in response to something really big, you'll see me do some other sort of intro, like the bright one, which is the little Twizzlers moving and all that stuff. You'll know what I'm talking about if you show up to my premieres. But there's these little premiere intros you can do for 5 minutes, and they're cute or interesting or cool. And yeah, the cinematic one, I always go to that for my big videos. He said, yeah, most people don't really think about the nuances. Majority or all of the time, they just see things in the surface level because they don't know this particular person. I mean, it's more so than that. It's a part of absolutism. People don't see the nuances because they take things to the extreme. And it's like all or nothing. So absolutism is like this thing where you just see things in black and white, you know? So like you said, surface level, all that stuff. That's where it's coming from. Most people are absolutists, and they have to break away from that to see the nuances and the details. Unfortunately, that's not happening though. You said, isn't that the truth that most people don't realize? That your body is different from others, and how it gets healthy is not the same as the other person. Like the most basic thing that relates to genes and basic genetics. Yeah, I gotta do a video eventually, which I do plan to do, about America's health in terms of weight. It's such a big topic, but the long story short is that people think that because this weight issue is pretty much just affecting America, that means that, oh, Americans just love to eat because you wouldn't be fat if you weren't eating so much. And it's like, how y'all gonna make arguments talking about how miserable it is to be fat and say Americans love to eat at the same time? Are you not understanding how dumb you sound? It has to be one or the other. But why are they eating if they don't love it? I can't even take it seriously. It sounds so brain dead. But it's a whole multi-billion-dollar system that experts have calculated ways to make people as fat as possible. It's bigger than the individual. When you see a massive amount of human beings all doing something that's bad for them, it's no longer an individual problem. It's an epidemic, and it's coming from somewhere that's not the individual. So that doesn't mean that they have no responsibility to take care of their health, but it means them taking care of their health is a lot harder. And you want to know a direct correlation that also is affecting America specifically and not the rest of the world? Is that America is the richest country that the face of the earth has ever seen, and yet people are more poor than they've ever been. California is the 5th largest economy in the world. And California is the state where there's just homeless people all over the fucking place. Just all over the street, everywhere you go. You don't think that has anything to do with the overweight problem in America? You don't think poverty has anything to do with that at all? I can't even sit here and cover it in this video because I'd be talking to you guys for an hour. Like, poverty has 1,000 layers in correlation with the 1,000 layers of the weight problem in America. So it pisses me off when people say fat people just want to be fat and they just eat too much. It's like, you're just dumb and you want to be dumb and you're projecting your dumbness onto their fatness, and that's why you can't understand why they're fat. Because you're willfully ignorant, and it's fucking pathetic. So with that being said, I'm just gonna move on. He said, goes to show people don't know how much other people go through. They really don't, because they're self-centered and apathetic, and it's fucking annoying. Like, sometimes my family stuff is bad, but nobody knows because it's so private. Yeah, you said, or kept private. Yep. People just assume because they can't see the suffering, you're not suffering. Like with Oompaville. He did the same thing. He's like, oh, all these people, these physical issues are going through more. It's like, I can't even say none of that. Anyway. So this one, you said that I am the opposite. You said you are the opposite of a normal YouTuber. You speak more honestly than put on a persona. And so I wanted to read this one because people accused me of having a persona all the time. Back in the day, like before all you guys came by, and now, people are like, oh yeah, your persona, your toxic persona. It's not a persona, it's me. It's who I am. I'm a complex human being. I'm being myself online. Now, yes, there's a factor in creating content where you overcompensate, but I'm still being myself. It's just a more extreme version of myself because that's who I am when I have to face 1,000 people attacking me. But it's not a persona. So I appreciate the fact that you recognize me as a genuine person, because people really don't believe that you can be genuine online. They think everybody who says that they care about something or believe in something are not genuine. That's why I was trying to talk about virtue signaling in part 1 of the Cyberstalker series. And I was trying to explain it, but Again, I started to get scrambled in my head because of all the criticism I knew I was going to get. But I was trying to tell people that when you say you care about anything, someone can just label it virtue signaling. But pay attention to what people virtue signal and look at their actions in response to what they virtue signal, because you will be surprised sometimes if the person is consistent with what they're virtue signaling about. If they say they care about something and then they show actions that show that they care about it, then it wasn't a virtue signal. They actually care about it. And if you see that they have an opportunity to care about something, a very easy opportunity, it doesn't even take much, and then they choose not to, then you know that they were virtue signaling and they're full of shit. That's why I said I encourage virtue signaling. It just shows people who people truly are. Virtue signaling within itself is not a bad thing. And so you listen to my virtue signals, you listen to where I was coming from, and then you see my actions and you view me as a genuine person. And that genuinely means a lot to me. So thank you for that. You said, definitely got the message that TikTok isn't just a cesspool. And yeah, I'm just so happy you labeled it that. Like, it's not a cesspool. Like, just use it yourself. Whenever someone says something's bad, see for yourself. You cannot trust strangers. Like, what is up with society today where people just take random ass people at their word when we were all taught about stranger danger? Like, why do you believe the masses? Since when were the masses ever doing anything right? What? Consistently? Come on now. Especially online? On YouTube? I literally can't understand. So that's the live chat. Alright, so that's all that I had to read out for today. So it's a little bit divisive in the comments. I personally don't have a problem with the therapist at all. I actually like her because, you know, she had a rational reaction to TikTok. And even though I didn't understand her anger, I still respect her. I just did the thumbnail the way I did. Like, most of the time you guys see that I make people look presentable in my thumbnails. If you see the person look crazy, it's because most likely I like the person. And it's a video where I support them. So, if you never noticed, that's where that comes from. But if I make them look really presentable, I probably can't stand them. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Can't wait to see you guys for the next one because I'm just so happy I'm able to do this series. It means so much to me that you guys are supporting it so much. Please don't forget to comment and like the video. It helps me a lot. And, you know, share it around to whoever you think could get some use out of this. Anybody who uses TikTok or social media and you feel like they're struggling, send them this series. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.